Welcome to the Ward 2 community meeting. Thank you all for coming out on this chilly night. My name is Eileen Birmingham, and thank you, Noah. And I'm going to get us started. I want to first just give a thank you to all the staff who are here tonight. I see several of them here. We're going to have some of them speaking. I really appreciate that. And I also want to just say, Selwa is here from the library, and she has some flyers around all the services available at our fantastic library. Oh, and I want to give a shout out to the Deputy Mayor, Susan. She joined us. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so this is just the agenda. We can have time for questions as we go, or probably at the end as well. I'm going to start off with some announcements, and specifically around our newly appointed township manager. Then we're going to hear from Austin Ashley and Norberto Hernandez, who are here, and they're going to talk a little bit about street safety, stormwater, and a little bit about the dredging of Edgemont Pond. And then Dr. Lisa Johnson, who's here from the Office of Sustainability, she's going to talk to us a little bit about some of her work that she does. She's very, really great at getting grants for sustainability projects, and so she's going to tell us a little bit about those as well. So let's get started. Okay, so as you may know, Montclair is our form of government is under the Faulkner Act, and it's the council manager form of government. And in that form of government, the manager has the executive power generally. And so the council is responsible for legislative policy, but the manager is typically the administrator of the town and serves as the chief executive. So Mr. Marks will be starting April 1st. And as you know, this was really the big job for the council coming in when we were elected. We spent many months doing an executive search under the leadership of Tom Zerniski. So we had dozens of applications. We went through a lot of interviewing. We interviewed over the holidays. I want to give a shout out to the Deputy Mayor, who really kept us on task and really facilitated a lot of those meetings. And I'm hopeful that you will all, we will have a great tenure with Mr. Marks. He is currently the town administrator in Kearney, New Jersey, where he's been since 2020, and that's where he currently lives. Prior to that, he worked in Hoboken as the business and assistant business administrator, and he spent 19 years as the planning director in Hudson County. A couple of years ago, in 2023, he was recognized by the New Jersey American Professional Planners Association. And I just wanted to read a little bit, just to give you a picture. There are some binders here where that sort of go through a lot of his work, but I'll just read a little bit here. Stephen Marks is recognized for his distinguished career in planning and significant contributions to the state of New Jersey. Throughout his career, he has strongly advocated for community revitalization through human-scale development, walkable neighborhoods, complete streets, bicycle and pedestrian safety, green infrastructure, environmental protection, and social justice. And this goes on, and it talked a little bit more about he does a lot of presentations on the professional level, including advocating at the US Senate and Congress. He has volunteered for many non-government organizations and served as a Jersey Waterworks board member for over a decade. He has mentored dozens of interns and junior staff members, especially those from diverse backgrounds and underrepresented communities. If you go to Hoboken and you see a lot of the Hudson Waterway project, the beautiful parks that they have there, he was involved in a lot of that as well. So and as I said, he's been serving as a town administrator in Kearney and in Hoboken, so he's also very familiar with budgets and staffing and municipal labor contracts and all of those things. So I really I'm very hopeful, really feel very good about our choice. It was a unanimous vote at the council a few weeks ago, and we were lucky that he was able to start pretty quickly after we made him the offer. So he'll be starting in just a couple weeks, April 1st.
Right before Easter.
There you go. And I hope you all get to meet him again. He will be responsible really for the day-to-day management of our town.
Eileen, is it a requirement that he moves to Montclair, or is that?
It is not a requirement that he moves to Montclair.
He's not going to be living here?
He will not. He lives in Kearney, and I think that is something we stipulated in the, because really to buy a house in Montclair these days, I think is a challenge for anyone, and so we didn't really want that to be a barrier for people. But I think he said his first date with his wife was in Montclair. His grandparents are buried in the cemetery in Montclair, and he has a lot of familiarity with Montclair. So yeah, he's very really looking forward to him joining in a few weeks. Next slide. Okay, so this is something I promised some of the restaurants in Watchung Plaza when I was dropping off their packet for Skip the Stuff. I would make sure we're going to talk about this as much as possible, because as of March 1st, there is an ordinance in effect that restaurants are not allowed to give out disposable products that you see here unless they're specifically requested. And that is a measure to reduce waste, really, and protect the environment. It's been in effect in a lot of places, including New York City, and it really does serve to to prevent a lot of waste, because a lot of times it's put in the bag and then people just move that bag to the garbage. So one thing, we want to just make sure that it's not the restaurant's fault if you don't get it. And some of the restaurants were explaining that people will call up and sort of yell at them, and so that's why I just want to make this, make everyone aware that we're now in the Skip the Stuff era.
Does this mean they'll only be serving paper plates when we when we take out the food and
No, they can use a container, as you know, that's illegal. They can't use, for example, styrofoam anymore, but they can use a legal container. But it's things like the plastic forks, the plastic knives, the straws, the packages of ketchup that people don't really need, and they just tend. And if you do need it, if you do ever want it, you just ask for it. So it's not that they're prohibited from giving it out entirely. It's just that you need to ask for it if you want it. Next, so we're currently working on the 2025 budget. The municipal budget runs on a calendar year, so unlike probably many of you who work with budgets, this budget is actually being prepared while the year is ongoing. And so that's why we pass a temporary budget in January. The state works on a fiscal year budget that goes July 1 to June 30th. So part of the reason that there's this interplay of time is that you have to wait for the state to announce its budget to see how much aid you're going to get, et cetera, before you can finalize your budget. So these are the statutory dates that are set. As I just described, we're in a period of transition where we are going to have a new manager coming in. So some of this, in terms of when we introduce the budget, will likely be in April. But again, we're going to see how that all plays out. I will tell you, there are some real challenges in our budget this year. A lot of it relevant to the state. Our state health benefit insurance has been going up, and this year it went up 16%. In addition, our required pension payments also going up. This is not a talk on the budget. We can do that another time, but there are some factors and pressures that come from the state that I feel like we should be talking about more in Montclair. And again, we can talk about that at another time when we introduce the budget. Following on that, since we know our taxes are high, I just want to make sure everyone is aware the state does have property tax relief programs. And new this year, for seniors, there is a single online application for the Senior Freeze, Anchor, and the Stay New Jersey program. And the deadline for all tax relief programs is October 31st. And here in Montclair on April 15th, we're going to be, there's a Department of Taxation will be here giving a talk at 1 p.m. at Wally Choice. If anyone is interested in learning more about how to fill out these forms, whether, how to figure out your eligibility, it's all online at the newjersey.gov.
That's what I wanted to talk about, because also, as you know, we're getting a new governor, Mikey Sherrill, by the way, from our own Montclair. Mikey Sherrill might be our next governor, and that's what I wanted to talk about tonight, the tax issue, because I know that Jersey taxes, including Montclair, are very high, and it's I want to be able to live here the rest of my life. I'm only going to be 25 next month. I want to live here the rest of my life. It's how do I be able to afford my own apartment and my own house?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and we can definitely talk about that a little more later. But it is definitely a challenge.
Wally Choice, a restaurant?
Oh, Wally Choice is the center. Sorry, that's sorry about that. I added this at the last minute when I found out about it. It is the community center by Glenfield Park, in Glenfield Park.
Glenfield School.
The new county, it's a county building, and it's it's in Glenfield Park. It's a beautiful building, and it's used by seniors during the day. Okay, another just announcement here. Thursday, March 13th, 7 to 9 p.m. At 205 Claremont, there will be a discussion of the housing plan for the housing element and fair share plan. We do not have a requirement, unlike many towns in New Jersey, we don't have a requirement to build new affordable housing, but we do have a requirement to rehabilitate. So that will be the subject of this meeting next week, March 13th. And then this is where we're gonna segue into I put this slide purposely to segue to Austin and Roberto. I think for many of us here in Montclair, when we talk about safety, we are talking about the streets and safety on the streets. In that we know, the number one factor that determines if people are injured seriously in accidents is how fast cars are going, and how we can calm traffic, make the safe streets for all is an ongoing endeavor that I know many of us in the council are committed to. So what I wanted to point out here is that the county currently has a survey going on where you can literally drill down on a street level to show the county where your concerns are. We know that several of our streets where the cars are driving fast, Valley Road, Grove Street, Watchung, are in fact county roads. And so I would encourage everyone to take this survey, pass it along to your friends. We have here in Montclair, we will be doing sort of a satellite project, the local safety action plan, and that'll include demonstration projects. And the RFP for that has gone out. And then here in Montclair, we have for the past almost 2 years now have a Vision Zero committee that's really been looking at data, trying to encourage data-driven practice. And we are, as a council, working on a complete streets ordinance that will, again, really look to make safe systems for everyone in this town. You can see here, I think this is just a good picture of all the ways, all the things we need to think about when we're thinking about safe streets. We've done, we've been approving four-way stops. There's been a lot of traffic studies going on. But I do want everyone to know that we are committed as a council to street safety and trying to make our streets as safe as possible. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Austin and Roberto, who are here. Yeah.
Real quick question before you get started. The housing plan the town is updating, is there going to be a plan that we can review before the meeting?
We can ask, I think there is something on the website. Sorry.
Can I jump in?
Yep.
There's no plan right now. It is the purpose of this is to engage the public to present
Feedback,
some ideas,
yeah.
some ideas that the township has for the plan and get feedback.
But so the plan is not ready, as she said, but there is information on the website that you can look at too. Yeah. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Austin and Roberto. Thank you so much for being here. And they're going to talk, like I said, about traffic safety.
There you go. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Austin Ashley. I'm the Director of the Department of Community Services. With me is Roberto Hernandez, who's the Township Engineer from Higley Engineering. And we're here today to talk about a little bit of what we've been doing in the last year as regards to traffic improvements and along those lines too, as well as stormwater improvements that we've been working our way through. Is this up arrow, you guys?
Down.
Okay. Roberto, actually, you want to take the first one about the speed limit reduction?
Yeah, sure. So as Councilor mentioned, over the last year or so, we've been working very closely with the Vision Zero Task Force, and one of our initial objectives was to lower speeds across town. Currently, an ordinance was approved last year that mandated that all township roads owned by the town, that excludes county roads such as Grove Street, Up Mountain, etc., were dropped to 25. Since then, we've been working with the county and have since reduced speeds on Grove Street, Upper Mountain Avenue, and Valley Road to 25 miles per hour as well. Those were historically 30 miles an hour and up. So that was a huge shift and really accomplishment for the township in its goals to have zero deaths, pedestrian deaths as part of the Vision Zero goal. And we've continued that effort to not so much as reduce speeds, but really target locations where there's a history of repeated accidents and just where we know pedestrian safety is an issue.
So along with part and parcel with the reduction in speed is also when we work with Vision Zero, we focus on things such as road narrowing, and that can be striping, that can be the use of delineators, and delineators it's a really fancy word for a tall, skinny cone. And we're putting those delineators in places that we have identified along with Vision Zero and the police department for as areas that need traffic safety improvements. And you can recognize those areas by the RRFBs, which I'm getting ahead of myself here, but yeah. Well, that's the delineators. So that's a picture of the delineators there, and what that is designed to do is, again, to narrow the road. And those locations we've deployed at the RFBs are the areas that have been designated for high pedestrian traffic that need extra signage, so to increase the visibility of pedestrians. Now, even though that signage exists, what happens is when the first car stops to let the pedestrian go, it often just appears as if the car is stopped and the person behind them will try and get around them on the right. The idea behind the delineators is now this will create a physical barrier that's reflective, just to signal that you should not be going to the right and passing on the right.
It's also typically an issue if cars are stopped trying to make a left and there's oncoming traffic and they're waiting for their turn, cars behind getting patient and then want to make that maneuver. There may be another car on the other side trying to make a left as well, and that's where you have a collision. So it's a two-pronged solution there with that.
So those are some of the roads where we put those delineators in. A common problem with the delineators, especially the way that we deploy them in the winter months, is they are on rubber bases, which means they're movable. So it is a constant maintenance issue to go back, replace those delineators to where they belong. And what we will be implementing in the spring is a move away from the rubber bases to adhesive to the roadway. That creates different problems, especially when it snows. Though they can get plowed up, they can create berms of snow. Thankfully, we haven't had a tremendous amount of snow as we have in years past, but that is something to be aware of when these get deployed. We'll still have delineators with rubber bases. That's our, for lack of a better word, that's our immediate fix. If there's an area that is discovered to have a need for these, we can deploy them quickly, or in the winter months when we can't use the adhesive because there's a temperature component with that.
It's also a way that we do trial and error as well, because before we go through the effort and time expense to physically install them into the road, which may be adhesive, may require bolting directly into the asphalt. The rubber bases allow just for quick deployment and just an evaluation over, a couple weeks, a month to see, does it work, is it helpful, or is it causing other problems? Yes.
So what kind of data do you collect to evaluate?
Determine
This,
Criteria.
It depends what the issue is, but typically you can expect crash data that's available to the police department, their records, and the state records. Speed data, we visit the locations,
So you collect data on speed?
we collect that on the speed. If it's part of that study, volumes of traffic, how many movements are being made through turns, pedestrians, cyclists, etc. And then with all that data, we look at it and see, okay, what, A, what's the issue? Is there an issue? And then B, what's the appropriate solution to address that issue? So that's kind of just on a very high level of how we look at things. And then, depending on what the solution is, then we look at it a little more deeper on the engineering side, maybe modeling, etc., to see the proposed solution. Does it work, or is it going to create other issues? It might not be appropriate for that specific location, even though it may be appropriate for the solution. So.
Along with the pedestrian safety aspect, you might have noticed there's quite a few more four-way stops, and this is our animation. We were accused of not being very entertaining at the last meeting, so we have animation for you.
So these are just a short list of the studies that have been completed. There are many more ongoing. The one at the bottom, you see Walnut Street and Forest Street is the most recent four-way stop that was installed just this week. So that's fresh. There's more in the works as well. We're currently looking at just up the street, Walnut Street and Midland. That's another problematic intersection that we're looking to evaluate and determine. So just take a step back. Four-way stops, you can't just put them up wherever you want. There are certain criteria that needs to be met. Federal guidelines that have been established when a four-way stop is or isn't appropriate. So before these are implemented, we need to first look at the data and the location to see, does this location meet any specific warrants that would justify and support the installation. So just to kind of give that backstory.
You'll be doing one on Watchung in Upper Mountain. That's always a problem.
So, Upper Mountain Avenue, very hot topic. But that's another, not just that intersection, but we're currently, it's not listed here, but again, there's many others that aren't listed here.
Right.
Upper Mountain Avenue is one of them. We're looking at Upper Mountain Avenue in its entirety, at least for the township section. So just so you're aware too, Upper Mountain Avenue is split. About 2 mile stretch is township, from Bloomfield up to Jerome Place. From that point on, up to Little Falls, it's county owned. So we're looking at the township section right now. Upper Mountain Watchung is one of the locations that we're looking at, obviously, which may be recommendation for traffic signal, just to kind of give
But we have one on North Mountain.
On North Mountain, correct.
So.
Correct. Yeah, so that's kind of stuff we're looking at. That intersection as well as the entire corridor itself, what traffic calming measures can be implemented, whether it's speed humps, whether it's just different changes in the geometry of the road, delineators, as Austin mentioned earlier, at certain locations. It's going to be a multi-pronged approach because it is a challenging section.
I wasn't going to speak tonight, but four-way stops have been a topic that has vexed me many, many years. I drive up and down Chestnut Street every day, and over the years, the four-way stops have proliferated. Ironically, just before I came here tonight, my wife, who parks in the Walnut Street train station, said, "You know, they put an effing four-way stop at the corner of Forest Street now, and traffic's all backed up, so I don't know that I'm gonna make it yoga," you know, on and on. I'm not a traffic engineer, so I can't speak authoritatively over their use or their effectiveness, but it seems to me that they oftentimes create as many problems as they solve. People don't know how to navigate a four-way stop, so all of a sudden you got four cars going at once, so maybe there should be an education component to this as well. But secondly, they do back up traffic in places that we least needed backed up. And perhaps there's a better solution, but again, people much smarter and more educated in this topic know way more than I do. But it feels sometimes that we use four-way stops as a panacea to any problems, as opposed to looking for a more permanent solution. And by the way, just on Chestnut Street, the other problem that you have is, so now every other block has a four-way stop, and people who don't know the block think that every corner is a four-way stop, so you're going along and somebody is stopping short in front of you. So, you know, I don't have any answers, I just have a lot of questions about them.
No, those are valid questions and points. That's why I mentioned earlier that there's certain criteria that the federal government has established when a stop is or isn't warranted. One of the things that it's not intended for, and it's actually strictly prohibited for, is not to be used to control speed. That's not the intention of multi-way stops. It's strictly an accident prevention measure. Okay, so it's not uncommon when a new traffic pattern is implemented. People don't really know how to react to it, so you may see backups. Over time, that should typically normalize to what is expected and be more of a useful tool.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, if you're looking at Upper Mountain Avenue, left turns from Berkeley onto Upper Mountain are a nightmare. I was a kid in a school bus to Nishaway. I used to take a couple runs at it. I was on the ambulance unit. If you would put no left turn there, because Van Vleck, Alpine, Watchline's well used, but some of those others are underutilized and they're not as bad. Especially trucks, moving vans. I was walking there the other day and it was just horrifying. The other thing which you could do tomorrow morning is Anderson Park approach from, let's say, from Edgemont approaching Bellevue, especially when there's lacrosse, there's things like that. I know the homeowners want to park in front of their homes. I know the parents want to drop off the kids, but what you could do is, obviously I go there 4 miles an hour. Those lines for parking were drawn when vehicles were not nearly as big and wide as they are today. So a short-term solution, because you can't see, kid can run right out and you could be right, you can't see until you're right there. You can't see around these trucks. You could enforce that they have to be within the line or within 6 inches of the line, and that big monstrosity And some of them are vans, carpool van. The other thing you could do longer term, and I know it's a county park, but there is plenty of room if they were a little bit creative of creating turnarounds where parents could drop off kids, even a little bit of parking for, legitimate senior vans and things like that. But it's been a problem for decades, and just don't let the big wide vehicles park there.
Yeah, it's certainly a challenge, especially given that they're so fully developed. Roads are only so wide, right? So you need sufficient space for cars to drive and sufficient space for.
But in most streets, you don't allow parking on both sides, and it is so active with children.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of what we're looking to do as well, is daylighting with these intersections, and specifically for issues like that.
Well, no, this is a stretch of road.
Yeah, but anywhere where you
And
have.
it is a law.
Mhm.
A constituent could sue to have the town enforce the existing law.
I have a question. Speaking of which, well, not everyone drives. For example, I don't drive. I take Ubers everywhere. I never got my driver's license, and I never will. But anyway, my question is that it also depends where you go in Montclair. But some I've noticed, this has been for decades too, because there are a lot of, we're one of the very few towns in New Jersey, in the whole state, that has train stations. And like, I know this, like, sometimes there's also traffic in Montclair because there's the train tracks stop when they bam, because that means, like, if you know, that means there's a train coming. I'm wondering if, like, if there should be fewer trains running because of, I mean, obviously it's not a choice because of people have to commute to work. Some people commute all the way to New York City just to work, so they have to take a train. But I'm just wondering, like, how are people going to avoid traffic if trains keep running through the train tracks?
Well, that's a very good point, and it does have the effect of pushing the traffic around. And to the gentleman's point earlier,
Like a detour, yeah.
So when we put in new traffic patterns, that inevitably is what happens.
Because I lived in Montclair for 20 years, and I gotta tell you, it wasn't until recently, like prior, like 2 or a year before, like August 13, 2019, like less than a year before the pandemic, that I remember the exact day. I know it's funny, but anyway, back to the topic. That the train tracks, that there would be so much traffic because of the trains.
Yep, it is an issue. Yes.
So I was real happy to hear that you're looking at Midland Avenue in Walnut, because that's where I live. And I can sit on my porch and watch a lot of accidents all summer. I mean, and I see a lot going on. We have horns every day, and most of these things are not reported. So I hope that when you do your assessment, you consider what happens as opposed to what's reported to the police, because we have a lot happening that's never reported.
Yeah, that's
It's
absolutely.
very chaotic intersection.
Well, I could just give you, go back to Karen a little bit.
Yeah.
I've already received the traffic reports from the police department, and
Thank you.
you're not off base with what you're saying. So
Yeah, thank you.
I'm fairly confident that something will get done there.
Good.
once it is.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have the email first behind. Yes.
If we're concerned about an intersection that isn't listed in your PowerPoint, what is the best way to bring it to your attention and awareness? I know you're tracking data, but in order to receive like what the status of it is, or if action is in plans, or if you determine it's not meeting these elements, what's the method for that?
Yes, I think part of that is what council is currently looking at with the Complete Streets Policy Ordinance. It's establishing that procedure and protocol. That's not in place at the moment. So in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me, Austin, or your local representative,
Okay, yeah, I should have said, in addition to the link that was sent out. Otherwise.
But
Yeah.
once that, I don't want to speak for council, but I think the intention is that a protocol will be set in place on how to communicate
That's
those
great.
issues.
That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
is to make it so that it's a centralized place where, and then it can be more data driven and things. And this is one of the reasons that I'm excited about Mr. Marks is because he comes from Hoboken where they have a very clear system.
And it's a city, too, it's not
He's
just
also
town.
very familiar with complete streets, and so the idea is to develop a system. And I know that many people have been working on this. That is designed where people can send these, if they're seeing things, and then it can be reviewed in a systematic way.
Especially during the school day. Like if you notice, like I remember when I was a student in high school way back in the day, and I still remember a long time ago. But anyway, I still remember that when I was in high school, when the students would be like leaving the school during the day, and there was always traffic because people would be trying to walk, and that's when schools had just gone out.
Yeah.
Yeah, communication. I've been to meetings like this before. I've gone to the municipal building, even when it was on Bloomfield Avenue. And you bring issues like this to someone, and they say, thank you for bringing this to my attention, thank you very much. And then you never hear back. So a bunch of people, me and a few others, have mentioned very specific streets, intersections. Is there a way for, at least since this is a board meeting, to say, all right, these were the ones brought up, and posting without us, trying to get you on the phone personally. We looked at it, here's what we're doing, or we decided we're not gonna do anything. We spoke with the police and everything, and we're just not gonna do it. But so that it's not hit or miss, and
Yeah, that's what the plan is to.
It's currently nothing like that exists, but that is what we're working for.
But I mean, like, are we writing down the problems people have brought up? And
Well, mine, I sent a letter.
Yeah, I've already heard.
It's not just the big
Okay.
streets, it's also the little streets, like we live on Edgemont. We have an island in front of the house, and it's one way all around. There's a sign that says one way. I have my office right in front of the front windows, and I can count the times during the day that people come right through, on the wrong side of the street. I've complained several times, and there are people with dogs and children, and you're backing out, and you're supposed to be looking one way, and all of a sudden you have to hit the brakes because somebody's coming the wrong way. It's also the little streets that need to be looked at. You don't need the big things, but maybe a bigger sign. And I've called repeatedly, and they said, "Oh, we have a sign. They come and cut the tree a little bit." Nothing else is done.
Oh, several times. I mean, it's call it the three-pronged approach. It's 3 E's: education, enforcement, and engineering. And so,
Enforcement is the big one.
Police
Yeah,
does-
absolutely.
police does a great job enforcing. There's a lot of ground to cover, though.
But the thing is that a simple, larger sign, do not enter,
Yeah.
can solve the thing. But, we have a little sign this way with an arrow saying one way. And once the leaves come in, or the flowers, nobody sees
So we
it.
can look at that,
Yeah.
like a sign, because it's
So
something
it's
like
also
that.
the little streets, it's the
Yeah.
little things sometimes that make a big difference in a community.
Especially on road.
what about a license plate camera for that? Or what if we put cameras, our doorbell cameras get, pictures of people going
We
the
shouldn't have to
wrong
go
way in
that-
front of a school is wrong.
No, I live on the other side.
She's on the other
Between Watchung and Brookfield.
It's more of a police issue than it is for engineering, but for the signage and that sort
Well,
of.
for the town.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's the little things in the community that makes a difference. We're not a community that always needs big things. We also
Yeah,
need
don't sweat the
little
small
things.
stuff. That's like that old saying, don't sweat the small stuff. There's a difference between wanting things and needing things.
Yeah.
This might not be an engineering thing, well, it's not. But I'm wondering, I was mentioning to you gentlemen earlier that the intersection heading into the park in the morning is a lot of little kids. And I was in a pedestrian accident there with my 3 and 5-year-old. Who would we talk to request a crossing guard? I already have. But what is, I don't say you guys because it's certainly not like a visible
Traffic.
Police.
Yeah.
police.
Right.
And also,
Because-
if the parents stop driving to the corner and parking there so that buses can make the regular turn and the traffic can flow better, it would avoid any of the pedestrian problems. But they park, they know the bus is gonna stop there, duh.
There's no I mean, this one down here, but either way, like they're both children and they both need to
No,
be
I mean
safe.
on the buses, pickups. So there's pickups
Yeah.
at almost every corner.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there is down there. This is like it's a visibility issue. I think you're coming around the corner of the pond and people are coming from out of
Yeah,
town.
and there used to be a crossing guard there. Yeah.
Interesting.
You're talking about.
Yes.
That's where Central comes
Yeah.
into Valley
Yeah.
and the park,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
crosswalk is south of the curve where it shouldn't be. It
Yeah.
should be a little bit further north.
And crossing guards are something we're gonna need to talk about, just in terms of, I think part of Vision Zero is protecting the vulnerable populations, and of course, children
Yeah.
are one of the more vulnerable populations. Crossing guards are hard to get and keep
Yeah.
sometimes, and so there might, it might be that we need to look at,
That's
where
another
they're
thing, why
allocated.
did the school buses always stop on the corners? Now, when my children were smaller, they did not stop in the corner. They stopped more in the middle of the block. And that's much more safe.
They have to stop at
Yeah.
crosswalks. They can't stop in the middle of the block. They have to stop at crosswalks.
Yes,
Or
but
near
why?
crosswalks.
So the bus sticks out into Watchung Avenue or any of those. It's a lot safer if the children are picked up somewhere in the middle of the block. They have to use the crosswalk anyway, so.
Well, part of what we're doing, we have two pilot intersections on Park Avenue. And this is the type of daylighting and curb extensions that we're looking to do in and around school areas to begin with, and then expand that out. But that should alleviate a lot of, it's gonna narrow the roads, it's gonna make it difficult for people to get around, but if it makes it safer.
It's safer
that's-
for the kids,
that's
it's
exactly
safer for
right.
the parents.
Yes.
Yeah, so you could drive through, in your spare time, Park Street in Lorraine and Park Street in Alexander. Those are just a couple of examples that were pilot projects. You can see kind of what it is that we're trying to accomplish and what will be beginning to be deployed all across town.
They're great. I think they're much better than they used to be.
Another thing I wanted to talk about.
I think we've covered the RFPs, the additional delinear deployments. It's a list of the delineators we've put out.
Can you stop on that for just a second?
Sure.
To see. So we do see Valley Road and Central Ave.
Yeah, that's
Just
there
to
it
be
is.
ordered for deployment. So what is there?
We
Is there a
have-
timeline for this?
We have received new bases, so there will be more deployed out. It's a matter of how many we can put out each. So we did initial deployment of one at intersections. We're adding more as we get them in, kind of on a rolling basis. So we'll try to bring. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so what will be happening very shortly, in the next week or so, is we mentioned we're doing studies on Upper Mountain Avenue, but that's going to take some time to complete. In the meantime, we'll be looking to deploy some of these along Upper Mountain Avenue at intersections and crossings where we think there may be an issue. So at least in the interim, there's something there to.
I have to say you have made more progress in the last year than in the last 10 years. It's really visible, and this is great.
No, it's been a concerted effort of town and council to prioritize traffic safety. So
I do want to echo that. We've been here for almost 10 years, and I have one car so that we can walk everywhere. The new four-way stops, especially at Bellevue, has actually alleviated a huge amount of traffic, so that's fantastic. Thank you, Bellevue and Upper Mountain. And however, there's absolutely nothing for pedestrian safety, basically from Watchung Ave all the way to Bellevue Ave, with the exception of one lit crosswalk at Cooper. So if something can happen between here and there, that'd be great. Anything?
You're talking on Upper Mountain?
On Valley,
On
sorry,
Valley.
on Valley,
Yeah.
between Cooper and Watchung. There's absolutely nothing.
There's
And I
been a
live
death
between
here.
there and we go to Edmond, so I'd love something.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
The delineator at Valley and Berkeley, is that going to be on Valley or on Berkeley?
Valley is the main thoroughfare
Yeah.
there, so
Okay,
it'll
good.
be on Valley.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize what someone else said and what you said. People do not know how to stop at a stop sign.
You're right.
And they really need to know who has the right of way, and there needs to be a very effective education campaign in town, as this is who has the right of way at a stop sign.
I mentioned earlier. Education
You have to pay attention.
You know,
And enforce.
the three-way stop sign at Bellevue and Upper Mountain is horrendous. Nobody knows who
Yeah.
has the right of way there. Nobody obeys anything. And also the Bellevue and
Yes.
Upper Mountain.
Some people just roll through the stop sign.
Yes, yeah.
And that's gotta stop.
You know, this isn't why I was here, but I just noticed everyone parks like right on the corners. I live on Midland and Brunswick, that's where I live. And anyway, all the high school kids park there, and there's no visibility because they park on the corners. So you creep out really far in order to see, and you're going to get hit.
Yeah, so that's,
It's not my bugbear, but that was a
again, the
problem.
delineators, as we continue to get,
Yeah.
unfortunately, we just don't have enough of them
Yeah.
to really
Yeah.
do what we want to do everywhere, but in addition to preventing cars from passing on the right and
Yes.
such, one thing that we'll be looking to do is clear up those distances at the crosswalks, because you're legally not supposed to park there.
Right.
People do anyway.
Yes.
But with these, we'll be able to physically prevent cars from parking
Oh.
within,
Yeah,
that
the corner.
distance at the corner there, so that you can have that clearance for the pedestrians trying to cross and drivers.
Is there a restriction on plantings at corners?
Yeah.
Because
There it is.
Gordonhurst
Gordonhurst
and Valley Road.
Oh my God.
That's
They
absolutely.
plant-
Yeah, can we take out like 3 more of those bushes, please, at least?
You have to be in the
It
middle of the
is the
street
worst.
before you can make the turn, right?
Yes.
Well, I
That's where I
stand
live.
back and I can see the
Not
traffic
that
coming
house,
before the thing, so that's my trick. But it's really hard.
It is
Yeah.
so terrible, yes.
We've covered our fees. One more of those.
Yeah, because there is no ordinance for that.
Do we want to cover? I guess we can. I don't know how much more time you want.
Few more minutes, and then, yeah, we can join, but sure.
Yeah, so just really quickly, just kind of give you guys a sneak peek on what's coming very soon. Something that we're really excited about is improvements to Watchung Plaza Park. So if you've been there recently, or really the last 5 years, 10 years, hasn't really changed all that much. However, you'll notice that it can be difficult to kind of get around the park. This is a conceptual rendering of what the park will look like once we're done with construction, which hopefully should be starting in the spring. But you'll see the major changes here is there's already currently
Maybe not. Oh, it doesn't go on the
it's not
screen.
raised around the screen. But there's currently already kind of a brick paved walkway along the perimeter. However, there's certain obstacles there with parking meters and such that make it difficult to get around. So we'll be looking to address that issue, or removing those parking meters, making it a full width walkway there that's unobstructed, barrier free, as well as install new walkways through the park. So that right now you just gotta get through dirt and kind of mud. There's desire paths that have been created where people just cross from the train station, they come down and just go across, or you're trying to use the park. There's benches and picnic tables kind of spread around, but again, no good way to get there. It's not very ADA friendly. So these pathways will be put in to really just increase functionality of the park, increase ADA accessibility, and just overall, just more
So will the traffic
beautification.
flow be the same as it is now?
Yes.
Yeah, this
Do you
is,
know that nobody, a lot of people don't, they turn left at that stop sign, where they're not supposed to turn left, they
Yeah,
lot
left
of
or
people
straight.
turn left.
Yeah, so
That
that's-
needs to have to be
Or go straight,
enforced.
or go-
Somebody has to.
You're talking
like-
about the Watchung Plaza?
Yeah, when you
kind
come
of entrance
out,
of
you're
Watchung.
supposed to only turn right.
Yeah, so that's something we implemented a couple years ago. It's hit or miss. People kind of do what they want anyways.
There's,
The
that's
county,
what I'm saying.
the
It's
county
not-
though, Watchung Ave is a county road,
Yeah.
and Watchung, and the county is already in progress in installing a new traffic signal
Oh,
at this
there'll be a
location.
signal.
Yeah,
Okay.
so a lot of the work is already done, unfortunately.
At Washington Park?
At Watchung Park.
So coming
Yeah,
out,
and
there'll be
right-
a
right
stop
on-
light.
Yeah, there'll be a full traffic signal there to control
The bus
traffic.
stop is?
Right in that area, right in
Yeah,
that
the gas
area, you can see it here. Yeah.
It's controlling this intersection,
Yeah,
basically.
right across there. So that's in the works. Unfortunately, we're just kind of on hold because materials have been delayed. It's a county project, but that's
But it's underway.
that's on the way and in the works. So that should be hopefully coming sometime this
I hope
year.
there will be a camera there as well for ticketing.
Those are not.
Unfortunately, that's legal in New Jersey.
It's not legal. in
Oh,
New
great.
Jersey.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
They are on the turnpike.
But that's just something to look forward to coming soon that we're really excited.
Oh yeah, may I say something? I know this is relevant, however, another thing I want to talk to you about, which I talked to Eileen about earlier, was the tax issue, like. Talk about. Sure.
I just want to add to the walkways, these will be permeable surfaces. So currently, if you walk there today, if you go towards one of the benches, it's a mud pit. The ground is so compacted, it can't perk the water through the ground itself. So little things like that will have an impact on stormwater. The more areas where we can get stormwater to be stored on green surfaces, the better it is for everybody. So these will be permeable surfaces and.
It'll be asphalt, but a permeable asphalt,
Yes.
so it's
Porous.
solid surface, but pores that allow rain to drain through and store water, rain underneath it and improve stormwater management.
We'll briefly touch on the dredging of Edgemont Pond, just because we're here. The pond was dredged a number of years ago. It wasn't completely dredged. There still is a decent amount that needs to be removed. And this is basically acts as a detention basin, a storage area for stormwater. And the thing about stormwater is it's a game of time. You want to store water for where it falls or wherever you can contain it for as long as possible to give the system time to move that water along. So we can hold more water here, we can alleviate pressure on the system down further on the system. We also need to do that further up on the system. So it has to be a systematic, system-wide approach, and not just here, but the other surrounding towns. So part of that, which was implemented, I don't remember the exact year, was the impervious coverage for homeowners.
That was 2021.
So it seems like a small thing. You say, well, why do I have to bother with my backyard patio isn't having that much effect. Maybe individually, no, but cumulatively, it has a huge impact on how much water gets into our system and at what time. I don't know if you want to add anything more to that.
Yeah, so just to kind of piggyback on that, so Montclair is pretty much fully developed, but somehow we keep finding ways to continue to develop it. So that ordinance that's been in place in 2021 is really on the private homeowner side, on their responsibility. If you want to put a patio, an addition, or a pool in your property, more than welcome. But you have to look at the flow water issue that goes along with it. So we don't continue to exacerbate the issue because, again, one house isolated, not so much of a problem, but multiply that by 1,000, 10,000 properties, it becomes an issue. As well as dredging the pond, that will help. Unfortunately, it is quite expensive, so we're starting that process really to a budget and kind of see what we're dealing with. And then, in addition to that, next week we'll be starting to remap all of our storm sewers in town. That's a state mandate, but it's something that the town is doing. Once we have that information, we'll be able to really see even further what are the real problem areas and what may be contributing to the problem. And if there's any potential solutions to at least alleviate the issues that have been occurring. So that's kind of just a look ahead over the next several years. It's a process, but we're making progress.
Because I think what you explained to me once, where you talk about how the system developed over many different years, and so you sometimes have large pipes draining into smaller pipes, so you wind up getting backup, and so the mapping is really one of the first key steps into figuring out, you know, for where the bottlenecks might be in terms of.
Yeah, that's a very important point. Is this system, we call it a system, it's all connected. It was not designed at any one time by any one person, and it involves town infrastructure, private infrastructure that we're not sure. We find stuff all the time because
Didn't
know that was there. So that all, when you take that all into consideration, the mapping is going to be a huge part in better understanding how we can make improvements to these systems and hopefully mitigate problem areas. So that's it.
Yeah.
Any other questions? That's all we have.
I think that was great. Thank you. Thank you, and I'm going to shortly invite Dr. Lisa Johnson. While she's coming, since we have the library here, there's Montclair trivia. Montclair had two Carnegie libraries. Do you know where they are? Or where? One is Bellevue. Bellevue?
At the end of Bellevue Road.
Yep. What's now UU was a former Carnegie Library. That was the first one in 1904. So I also just want to say one thing about enforcement. Norberto alluded to the 3 E's when I got my MPH. That was the thing. Engineering, enforcement, education. And I think that's engineering being the top one in the pyramid in terms of the most important thing, that you have to engineer streets. Enforcement, really in Montclair, when you look at the enforcement data, the moving violations, last year we had over 6,000 moving violations issued, which was a huge jump over prior years, and especially during the pandemic. You do not see here, and this is historical, you don't see a real reduction in accidents even when enforcement goes up a lot. And that's why the engineering of the streets is so important, and why we moved to safe systems to do a sort of comprehensive system of safety for our streets. But I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Johnson. And Dr. Johnson. Yes, she's going to talk to us about all the work that she does to benefit our community. Thank you so much for being here.
That's right there.
Oh,
speak.
It's below.
Hi everybody, thanks for joining. Thank you, Councilor Birmingham, for inviting me. I really appreciate it. So I'll try to make this quick, just some of the things that my office is working on and some things that are coming down the pipe. So, as you know, last year we received a grant from the USDA, Montclair's Urban and Community Forestry Program. Because it's from IRA funds, there's a chance that it might be rescinded. Right now we're still good. We still have it, but unfortunately with the administration, you know, it's a sad reality that sometimes things get cut. But again, right now we're good. So we're still moving forward with increasing tree plantings, hazard prunings, removals, and working with Montclair State. So this summer we're going to have a grant team through the PAC&G Institute for Sustainability, and they're going to do a bunch of stuff for us. So very excited that this is still happening, and we all know how wonderful trees are. I don't need to go into it. We're all environmentalists here. Yes, good. Okay. So this is going to be a 5-year project. Every summer, again, we're going to have a grant team from Montclair State. And if you live in an overburdened community, so the second ward actually has a tract of land that is considered an overburdened community, then you can ask for a tree and it will be paid for by this grant, right? So as long as, it's public land in front of your house, as long as the area is able to hold a tree, please reach out to me and I'd be happy to put a tree in front of your house or wherever.
But sometimes with the tree is dead, like it happened on the island. They put several trees up.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes they don't make it,
No, they just didn't do anything. It was dead.
Oh, the tree was dead?
The tree was dead.
Okay. Well, if it's in the OCB, then this grant will help to make sure that we, do more for our trees, so which is great. Oops. And also, I readjusted the grant so that if you also live in one of the overburdened communities, you can get a free consultation with our tree expert. And what she does is she goes to your property and she will give you recommendations for trees, types of trees, where to put trees, what kind of light you get, what would be best. So again, you can reach out to me, and if you or one of your friends or neighbors or cousins, aunts, whoever live in these purplish gray areas, you are able to get a lot of the benefits from the USDA.
I don't see anything anymore too.
Yeah, so this is, and then this would be, so it's not a lot.
Oh, I see.
That's there's some
overlay.
though.
I see.
Yeah, so you can always contact my office, and then I will also look up if you are eligible for the program or not. We're still doing the home energy efficiency program. I just got an email today that they are souping up the program. So I do have some flyers if you want to grab a flyer. They just replenished it. They're making it easier. And also, if you live in an overburdened community, you can get the weatherization program. So it's based on your income. There's 3 programs. There's Comfort Partners. If you're on Medicare, and it also depends on your income, you can get a free home energy audit and tons of free upgrades. And then the next one is weatherization. And I actually did it about 3 years ago. I bought a house, and between you and me, they weren't super strict about checking your W-2s. And I got the weatherization program, and they totally re-insulated my attic and did all sorts of upgrades. So it is a process. They call you, they come, and there's things you got to fill out, but I probably saved over 10 grand, so it was really, really worth it. And like I said, they're making it easier to get these programs because they really want to make people's homes more efficient. So you can reach out to me. You can come to the website. You can scan the QR code, right? It's all on the Office of Sustainability.
You said
page.
all Essex County or just Montclair?
All of PSCG customers. So even if you know somebody who lives in North Caldwell, Verona, wherever, they can still do this project or be part of this program. So the auditor comes, checks all these things. Again, you can get tons of stuff done for free, which is awesome. We also got a grant through Sustainable Jersey, and we are doing a native lawn project. So with those funds from Sustainable Jersey and PCG, we put in a native lawn at the Crescent Deck. Right now it's not looking too good because it is winter, but native plants, they are survivors, and it is going to look awesome in the spring. So with that, we also were able to give free consultations, again, like we were doing with the trees, for people to have free consultations for native plants on their lawns. Yes?
On your previous slide, I saw insulation. What can they actually do?
Well, they totally re-insulated my attic. So if your insulation isn't looking good, I bought a fixer-upper.
What, did you have to take down the wall?
No, they went into the attic, they pulled out all the old pink insulation, and then they put in the blow-in insulation and the silver stuff.
The blow-in, oh, okay.
Yes. So they removed and then they replaced with something better.
Is this the program through the state?
This is through PSCG. Yeah, this is the home weatherization, PSCG energy efficiency. Yeah, so as long as
called them and they gave her light bulbs.
So they do that too. So it really depends what you need. You might not. They might come.
Insulation, but they never mentioned it.
Is it the same program? The home. Is she in Montclair? Okay. Okay, I can't help with that, but if anybody's in Montclair, yeah. So anyway, so if you want to talk to me about the weatherization, the energy efficiency program, happy to chat. So anyway, so with this program, we were able to give and have scheduled over 100 consults, which was awesome. Hopefully we can keep doing this because, you know, it's one step into incorporating more native plants into our landscapes. And that's really, really important for a plethora of different reasons. Recycling, let me touch on this real quick. So do you know what you can and can't recycle? You can go to Recycle Coach and find out. I don't need to go through all of this, but we have a dual stream recycling system. We also made these. If you want one, they're really big, or if you know somebody that has an apartment building or condos, this is great to put in the recycling room. So it's just exactly like there, but it's more in depth. And it talks about, we also take recycling, electronics, and where Department of Community Services is, if you want to follow them. And it's just super convenient. So we have a bunch of these if you want to grab one.
Say something about Recycle Coach.
Recycle Coach, so it's an app on your phone. You download it, you put in your address, it tells you when your garbage pickup is, when recycling pickup is. And if we have to send out a notification, like if we're not going to do garbage pickup because the weather's, snowing or it's really, there's a hurricane outside, you will get a notification on that as well. So Recycle Coach, it's an app, it's great.
Who does Montclair's recycling on the other end after everything's compacted?
I'm sorry?
On the other end, after everything's compacted in the trucks, where does it go?
So it goes to Atlantic Coast Recycling. So they take our recycling. Recycling's a commodity, right? So then it's traded on the market. Yes. Okay, so what you can recycle, what you can't. Again, I'm not going to go through this. Plastic bags, don't put them in your recycling. Food containers does not go in your recycling. Towels, cups, plates, right? Styrofoam. And we have our hazardous waste day, right? Run by Essex County, right? It's right in Cedar Grove, not too far away, like 10 minutes from here. And things like gasoline, household cleaning fluids, car batteries, right? All of this you can bring to the hazardous waste day. So do not throw them in the trash yet. All right, May 10th, Saturday, May 10th, we have our Shred Fest. If there's any documents you want to get shredded, again, if it's just your, junk mail, doesn't need to get shredded. This is sensitive information. Please bring it and we'll happily shred it for you. And we also have our Earth Day event. This is correct, I know this is correct. April 27th, 12 to 4, it's going to be on South Park Street. We did it last year, we had a great turnout. Bill Barron is here from the Sierra Club, who actually played a big role in that, so thanks again. So he's also helping us this year, as is Montclair Climate Action, Drive Electric, Montclair Center Bid, right? We're all working together to do this event. So, and
I'll be there.
yes, thank you. And Ellie Meeks is here. She's also she works with the Judy Weston Foundation and also has some events coming up for Earth.
We have Arbor Days and Earth Month. We're working with a number of partners, including the library, the art museum, Brookdale Park. We're going to have a number of events, fun educational events. So it's Judy Weston Garden at Watchung Park. So we will share more information.
Thank you.
Thank you
for sharing that. Of course. Now we have another grant that is tentative. We did get pre-awarded this, but with this administration, who knows what's going to happen. So we got a grant for the USDA, the Composting Food Waste Reduction Cooperative Agreement. We have 2 schools that are going to be hosting in-vessel industrial composters, the Rocket 500, Watchung School, which is in the 2nd Ward, Bullock School, and then Montclair Community Farms is going to have a community composting facility there. So the schools can only compost what's on site, but then the community farms is going to be able to accept food waste, which is awesome, right? So again, pre-award, we're in, but there's always a chance. Who knows what's going to happen? But I'm staying positive, send positive vibes. We're going to keep with this. It's going to work out, which is great, right? We can finally have a drop-off site that's going to be like nominal fee, like $300 a year for that. And we're going to be able to put our food waste and then get compost and use that to grow our gardens. So that is it for me for my presentation. Sorry, I was trying to get through quick. I don't want to keep people late.
are they still having the county electronics recycling event on, it would be Saturday the 17th of May?
Yes, but we take electronics.
Okay.
So you can bring your electronics to DCS on Saturdays. Every Saturday. So we're fortunate. So I like how you have all the dates.
I'm from West Paul Island, you know, they have a regular electronics recycling.
Yeah, so it might be the week before or after the hazardous waste day at Cedar Grove, but they take them there as well.
Is there any chance Montclair and or Essex County will do styrofoam recycling again?
We're trying. We're trying.
Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it though, right? You have to have like someone who will take it.
So there is a company in central Jersey, and they do take it and make like picture frames out of it, but we need to get a densifier. And I forget the name. Do you remember the name of the company? Where they will buy the densifier, but then you can sell the material. That's what Clifton is doing. But densifiers are hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So a lot of food containers we get, if we get pick-up at restaurants in Montclair, are not recyclable in Montclair.
Nope.
So if now the township can legislate skipping the staff, why can't it legislate that if you do business in Montclair, we already don't get any sales tax, why should we get the burden of that trash? You know?
That's a policy question, yeah.
Right, we just should not allow containers that we can't recycle.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's it's bigger than me, but it could be a movement. But I agree with you, totally agree with you. And people think they can recycle those containers, the wish
And that has a cost to the municipality, then that's a bunch of recyclables that are not recyclable.
Yes.
And then people are told that the problem is them, that they throw things out that are not recyclable. And wishful recycling. Wishful recycling is not an individual problem. It's a policy problem. We're not prohibiting the stuff that we can't handle. That is on our council, it's not on residents.
Yes. All right, it's something great to talk about in the future, but unfortunately, we're not great at recycling. We're better than a lot of towns. We really are, actually. So our contamination rate is actually pretty low. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, if you need anything, if you want, recycling posters, flyers, anything else, ideas you want to volunteer, just let me know. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Dr. Johnson. There is so much going on, and I appreciate all of that information. We are almost at time, and I want to thank again the staff for staying here with me after hours. I really appreciate it. I think we have time for a couple questions, and I see Deputy Mayor moving. I just wanted to let you know, because of course we do not have time to go through everything that's going on in town and everything that the council is working on. I see Bill here, and I see the Deputy Mayor, and that reminds me to talk about Transportation Committee that we're working on trying to get improved public transport into transportation into Montclair. I don't know if Bill or Deputy Mayor Anderson, if you want to say anything.
Sure. So in early February, I gathered a group of concerned residents who are interested in working on issues around public transportation. And there are two subcommittees that are meeting for the first time this past week. There's a subcommittee that's going to be looking at New Jersey Transit Service expansion and ideas for what we think we would like to advocate for and push for. And then another subcommittee is going to be looking at intra-town transport. So, I think probably if you've lived here for a long time, you know that at some point there was a jitney that serviced Bay Street, went to Bay Street. But my sense was that there is interest in these two areas of public transportation. So I wanted to get a group together of people who are going to be actively looking at and researching potential solutions for consideration by the whole council and the township. So
Is there any realistic chance of regular bus service into the Port Authority anytime soon in light of congestion pricing?
So that is one of the
Anytime
things that.
soon, no.
Yeah, probably, this is what this subcommittee is going to be looking at. Probably not, but Bill, if you want to say something.
No, I mean, to move New Jersey Transit is going to take a lot of effort.
And
we're working on it, but it's going to take a lot of effort. It's not going to happen overnight.
the railroad parking lots, is that it seems to be under nobody's jurisdiction, but they're virtually empty and people are waiting years for permits. And you know, I've spoken with the town that they have it so that if everyone who has a permit comes, they would get a parking space, but there are people who've had them for years and gave up commuting to New York a long time ago.
Yeah, and I'll say, one of the things we talked about with Mr. Marks during his interview process was parking, because that is something both in Hoboken and Kearney and in Montclair, there's a common thread that there's parking issues. So that is something we're hoping we can work with him on holistically.
This has been a very good
And-
meeting, but I'd love to see someone from parking attend.
Yeah, we can do that next time. Yeah, I don't, because the staff is here on their time, I don't want to keep them for too long and too late, but we can certainly at the next meeting, and because I know parking is, Councilor Williams has really been looking deep dive into overnight parking here, and what you're bringing up, parking in the decks and near the railways is another issue that we need to look at. So
I'll just put in a plug for my next at-large meeting. My last one was in December, but the next one scheduled is April 10th. It'll be here. This time I'm going to be doing it jointly with the other at-large counselor, Counselor Lockman, and perhaps we can invite the parking utility to come, because I know it's and it's a concern.
Certainly an issue as well.
May I speak?
Oh, absolutely. Mr. Robin?
Thank you. My name is Ed Robin. I'm with the Montclair Library Friends Steering Committee. And I actually have a question for Eileen. And that is, I have it on very good authority that the Montclair Township Council Facilities Committee has recommended that at the next council meeting on March 11th, that the council adopt the first reading of the proposed library 2025 capital budget. And I'd like to know whether you support that.
Thank you, Ed. So I think one of the things, and we can talk about this probably at another meeting, but one of the things that we are seeing here in Montclair is there is a lot of pent-up infrastructure needs in our town, in many of the municipally owned buildings. If you know me, you know I'm a supporter of libraries. And so, yes, that was actually in our intent to incorporate the much needed repairs and infrastructure improvements to the library. And it happens that because we're going to try for a grant, that we're going to do it this, sounds like we're going to do it this Tuesday.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I will speak for myself. I consider libraries to be really such an important community institution. They're one of the few institutions left that's really rooted in equity, and so I'm a big supporter of the library.
Okay,
so,
thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Can I just share something?
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Linda Cow. I'm on the executive board for the Montclair PTA Council. And I just wanted to share, this is happening in the 2nd Ward next Tuesday. We are hosting a workshop on community advocacy to help families that are at risk of ICE action and deportation. So it's an informational workshop so that we can become better community members and more supportive. We'll have some information about Know Your Rights and resources that individuals can go to, but also we're talking to schools and PTAs to see how they can institute better practices and protocols so that they can be more inclusive and supportive of our entire community. And I have flyers here if anyone would like to take one for a reminder. I'm just asking for an RSVP for a rough head count if you can. But everyone is welcome.
What day?
Tuesday the 11th.
So is this geared towards non-endangered people or?
Yes, because there are other organizations within the community that are having more direct work with those who are the targets. So we thought, as the PTA Council, we support all of our PTAs, working with parents throughout the township. We wanted to ensure that the PTAs were being more mindful when they're hosting events and the way that they choose to communicate. We're hearing, I just heard on the news this morning confirmed that ICE, for instance, they took into custody someone a caregiver who was at a bus stop. So it's not on school grounds, it's not indoors where you can say, no, you can't enter, but to think about that. Our moderator, Cheryl Hopper, is a former principal in Montclair, and she was a principal. One of the schools in which she was a principal had a larger ESL immigrant population, and so she's going to be sharing with us some of the best practices, things that worked, and how, as a school community, they were better able to support, because this is not the first time this population who have been targeted, so they've kind of been through before. So everyone is welcome.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Any other comments or questions before anything anyone wants to share before we, as I said, the next couple of months we'll be busy with the new manager, and you know what, behind this column, I see you back there. Mr. Lapola, who is our outgoing manager, just want to say thank you for your